With some countries entering a gradual easing of lockdown stage in the global COVID-19 pandemic, the million-dollar question remains where next and how do we go forward amidst a virus that has taken the world by surprise? To answer some of these questions in brief, in a local context, of course, we have with us Sri Lanka's Ambassador for Science, Technology and Innovation, Dr. Bandula Wijay, who's joining us from the United States via video conferencing to speak on what Sri Lanka needs to do to rebuild a more resilient economy and how the country can position itself as one of the most promising nations in the region. Dr. Wijay, thank you very much for joining us. Now, yes, we need to spur economic activity, but what do we start? Where do we go from here?
Oh, thank you for having me, Indeewari. The question we have to ask is, where do we go from there? What lessons have we learned in facing this pandemic?
Mm-hmm.
So from those lessons, then we can think, what is it that we need to do in order to kickstart our economy? So some of the areas that has come to our observation is, for example, the agriculture sector. Everybody needs food, and are we taking sufficient emphasis on agriculture to be done locally?
Mm-hmm.
In order to do that, we need to elevate the status of our farmer. We need to make the farmer, bring him to the elite class. One of the other things that we faced was the lack of medicines. Medicines are quite easy to manufacture.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the medicines are manufactured in India, for example, are basically chemicals mixed together in certain formulations. So we should consider manufacturing these medicines in Sri Lanka in the future. Same thing is true of medical device supplies like face masks and whatnot, ventilators and so on. So we need to put some emphasis on making sure that we have these supplies in the event that this would happen again. So how do we do this? One of the things that I have talked before to you and others is we need to emphasize on our education. We need to entice our younger generation at the universities and those who are not in the universities to help to kickstart this economy based on entrepreneurship, that they take the leadership role in building these products for us in Sri Lanka. This can be done.
Now, Dr. Wijay, you bring us to a very important part of this conversation. You, as the Ambassador for Science, Technology, Research, Innovation of Sri Lanka, you live in the United States. Over 1 million cases reported in the United States when globally the number of cases hit, twice, one-third of the cases are reported from the United States. But here in Sri Lanka, let's talk about the recovery, COVID-19, how you see it from the United States. And also, as you talk about youth participation, economic recovery and innovation, how do we bring all of them and spur startups? Because we are looking within now. There's so much of a hindrance to global trade and also that kind of engagement with the rest of the world.
Yes, that is a very good question. Actually, we are very happy to see the management of the disease, the pandemic in Sri Lanka. I think the government of Sri Lanka has done a tremendous job. The number of cases are still under control, still very low percentage-wise compared to the population of 21 million people. And also the fact that the laws that have been brought up for lockdown, curfew, and all those things have done quite well and served the purpose of controlling the pandemic. So therefore, congratulations to the government of Sri Lanka for doing that. Mm-hmm. Now, you talk about the United States. Of course, this is a big country. There are a lot of issues here that it's not that easy to control. Our culture is very different from, let's say, Sri Lanka or India. But I'm only hoping that pretty soon, in the next couple of months, that our curves will flatten out and we can also do the same of restarting our economy. Now, you asked me about how do we come out of this?
Right.
you just have to identify those key factors that are important. Of course, the foreign exchange is important. So what are those key factors? Export economy, the tourist economy. These are important. Now, one of the things that I have always talked about is we should export value-added products. There have been so much of development done in Sri Lanka, in graphene, for example, in for example. So these are products that will fetch a very larger income, larger price than, let's say, something that is very, very low value added, for example, garments. I'm not saying that we should not manufacture, produce, and export garments, but along with that, we should start thinking what else can we manufacture and export that has more value added. The other thing is education. We can be the country that exports education rather than sending our kids all over the world and then in these situations send the airplanes to bring those children back. We should be having education as a business. We should be able to educate students from other countries in Sri Lanka. We have a very high standard of education. We have a lot of good teachers. So we should look at education as another possibility.
You're talking about foreign exchange. Yes, before you go on further, we have just about 2 minutes more, Dr. Wijay, on the news. I'd like to add one final question to our discussion. Innovation, especially to deal with the future of post-COVID Sri Lanka, because you are a Sri Lankan who has made us all proud. You've moved to the United States. Innovations in the health and scientific areas. We see a lot of youth engaged in innovations during this lockdown period, during curfew, during this period. They seek to enhance Sri Lanka's productivity, manufacturing industries. But what is the way forward? How do we allow them here to move ahead?
Now, one of the things about innovation is it needs guidance. So it needs guidance sorry.
Yes, I think we have a difficulty with your video camera. We're trying to connect to you, Dr. Wijay. Are you? Okay. Yes. Okay. I think we have you on air again. Yes, please talk.
Yeah. Okay. So when it comes to innovation, one of the things that I have noticed is there are so many new innovations, or at least new products or existing products that have been manufactured or prototyped in Sri Lanka in different universities, in the, the military, for example. This is very good. I'm very, very happy to see that happen. This we should continue. This is not something we should do in the event of a pandemic. This is something we should be doing every day. So that kind of skills and the talent pool, we have it. And I'm very happy to see that, except that we must continue this. It should be part of our education system, not do it only during a pandemic, but it should be done on a regular basis.
Right. Thank you very much, Dr. Bandula Wijay, Sri Lanka's Science, Technology and Innovation Ambassador for Sri Lanka, joining us from the United States to talk about what Sri Lanka will be in the post-COVID era.